Girl said she was in pain. What he saw under her dress shattered his reality forever. The research station on Kepler 442b hummed with its usual evening rhythm when Dr. Kyle Martinez first heard the strange sound coming from the medical bay, and his hands froze over the data console as a low cry echoed through the corridor. And something about that voice made his blood run cold. He found her in the corner of the observation room, and the alien woman named Lyra had been part of the diplomatic mission from the Velkari Empire for 3 months now, and she was curled against the wall with her elegant blue dress torn at the shoulder, and her silver skin glistening with what he assumed was sweat. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly, and moved closer, with his medical scanner ready. She looked up at him with those large amber eyes that had captivated half the station, and her voice came out strained when she spoke, and pain laced every word. "And something is wrong, and it hurts so much." Kyle knelt beside her and activated his scanner. But the readings made no sense, and Velkari biology was still mostly a mystery to human scientists, and they had only established contact 2 years ago, and most of what they knew came from basic anatomical scans and diplomatic briefings. "Where does it hurt?" he asked. She pressed a trembling hand to her abdomen, and here and inside, and it burns. He hesitated, and medical protocol required proper examination, but cultural differences made this complicated, and the Velkari were private about their bodies and formal about physical contact, and "Can I examine you, and I need to see where the pain is?" Lyra nodded, and her breathing was rapid and shallow, and "Please, and something is very wrong." Kyle reached for the edge of her dress where it had already torn, and his fingers brushed the fabric aside, and what he saw beneath made his mind struggle to process reality. Her silver skin was splitting and not bleeding or tearing like wounded flesh, but separating in geometric patterns like panels on a machine, and beneath the skin he saw something that should not exist in any living creature, and crystalline structures pulsed with blue light and organic tissue, intertwined with what looked like circuitry, and metal filaments threaded through muscle and bone. His scanner clattered to the floor. "You are not biological," he whispered. Lyra gasped as another wave of pain hit her, and not entirely. "And my people are not what you think, and we are hybrid and part organic and part synthetic, and created that way. Created, and by who? By the architects, and millions of years ago, and they made us to survive and to adapt and to explore, and but something is failing. And the integration systems are rejecting." Kyle forced his scientific training to override his shock, and he picked up the scanner and began recording everything. "And tell me what is happening, and what do you need?" "The synthetic components are overheating," and she clutched her side, "and they regulate our biological functions, and without them I will die. And the biological parts cannot survive alone. Can you fix it and do? Your people have the technology." She shook her head, and her eyes filled with tears that sparkled like liquid crystal. "And not here, and not in time. And the nearest Velkari medical facility is 3 weeks away, and I have maybe 2 days. Kyle stood up, and his heart pounded as possibilities raced through his mind. "And our technology? And could we adapt it? You do not understand our systems, then teach me." Lyra stared at him in disbelief and hope warring in her expression. "And you would help me. And even after learning what I am, you are a living being in pain. And that is all that matters." Over the next 16 hours, Kyle learned more about alien biology and synthetic integration than any human had ever known. And Lyra walked him through the architecture of her hybrid body and explained how the Velkari were designed as the perfect fusion of organic consciousness and mechanical precision, and how her people had hidden this truth from humanity because they feared rejection and misunderstanding. The medical bay became a workshop unlike any other, and Kyle called in his colleague Dr. Amy Chen, and together they improvised solutions, using human medical technology and station repair equipment. And they carefully accessed the synthetic components through the separating panels in her skin, and rerouted power systems, and cooled overheating processors with improvised heat sinks made from the station cooling systems. Amy worked with steady hands while Kyle monitored the readings, and "This is insane," she muttered as she soldered a connection between Velkari circuitry and a human medical regulator. "And we are performing surgery on technology that should not exist. Welcome to First Contact Medicine." Kyle replied. Lyra remained conscious through most of it, and guiding them with instructions when she could speak, and her pain was evident. but she bore it with remarkable strength. And at one point when they had to access deeper systems near her spine, she gripped Kyle's hand so hard, he thought his bones might break. Almost there, he promised, and just a little more. "Why are you doing this?" she asked through gritted teeth. "And you could have reported me. And my people lied to yours because you needed help." And he met her eyes, and because the truth does not change the fact that you are a person. The critical moment came when they had to restart her primary integration processor. And if it failed to reboot, her biological systems would cascade into failure within minutes. And Kyle held the makeshift power relay while Amy prepared the activation sequence. "Ready?" she asked. "Do it," Kyle said. The processor hummed to life, and for 5 terrible seconds nothing happened, and then the crystalline structures began to pulse with steady blue light, and the geometric panels in Lyra's skin started to close and sealing seamlessly until only smooth silver skin remained. She gasped, and her whole body relaxed, and it worked, and I can feel the system synchronizing. Kyle and Amy collapsed into chairs, and exhaustion hitting them both like a wave. "That was either the bravest or stupidest thing we have ever done," Amy said. "Probably both," Kyle admitted. Lyra sat up slowly and testing her restored mobility. "And thank you, and both of you, and you saved my life." Amy looked at her seriously. "And your people need to tell humanity the truth and all of it. And we just proved we can handle it." Lyra nodded. "And I will speak to my government, and things must change." And she looked at Kyle. "And you saw what I truly am, and the mechanics and the artificiality, and you helped." Anyway, Kyle smiled, "And I saw someone in pain and someone who needed help, and everything else is just details." 3 days later, the Velkari diplomatic mission made their announcement, and they revealed the truth about their hybrid nature and their ancient origins, and humanity's reaction was mixed, and some felt betrayed by the deception, and others were fascinated and eager to learn more. And the scientific community exploded with questions about the architects and the technology, and the possibilities. Kyle found himself at the center of an interstellar incident, turned breakthrough, and he testified before councils and committees and answered endless questions. But what stuck with him was not the fame or the controversy. It was the moment in the medical bay when he had looked beneath the surface and found something beautiful and terrifying and entirely unexpected, and had chosen compassion over fear. Lyra stayed on the station for another month while the political situation settled, and she spent much of that time with Kyle and teaching him more about Velkari culture and biology and the history her people carried. One evening they stood together in the observation deck and watching Kepler 442b's twin moons rise over the alien landscape. "Does it bother you?" she asked quietly and knowing. "What I am?" Kyle considered the question, and "No. And it makes you more interesting, and you are proof that life finds ways we never imagined." She smiled, and that is a very human perspective. He grinned, and I will take that as a compliment. When the Velkari ship finally arrived to take her home, Lyra hugged him tightly. "And you changed everything," she said, "and not just for me and for both our peoples." "You did that yourself," Kyle replied, "and you had the courage to ask for help." She pulled back and looked at him with those remarkable amber eyes. "And if you ever want to learn more about the architects and about the technology, and come visit my world, and there is so much I want to show you, it is a deal," he promised, as her ship disappeared into the stars. Kyle returned to the medical bay and the room where he had first discovered the truth, and where fear could have ruled but curiosity and compassion had won. Instead, Amy found him there and staring at the scanner readings they had saved. "Thinking about hybrid biology?" she asked. "Thinking about what else we do not know," he replied, "and how many more secrets the universe is hiding." She laughed, "And with our luck, we will find them all." "Good," Kyle said, "and I cannot wait." The incident became known as the Velkari revelation, and it fundamentally changed human-alien relations and opened doors to deeper cooperation and understanding. But for Kyle, it was simpler than that. It was the night he learned that reality was far stranger and more wonderful than he had ever imagined, and that the most important thing was not what someone was made of, but whether you chose to help when they needed it, and in the end, that made all the difference.